Is it illegal to send crypto out of South Africa? We're going to be discussing the shortcomings of this regulation, as well as what you need to know as a South African crypto investor. If that sounds good to you, make sure that you smash the like to indicate to me that you'd like to see more of this type of content. Good morning, everybody. Now, if you've been looking at the recent press and you've been watching the articles that have been out, you would have seen a flurry of articles talking about the fact that it is illegal to send cryptocurrency out of South Africa. Let's go through a couple of these headlines. Moving Bitcoin overseas from your wallet in South Africa is a crime, Reserve Bank. Bitcoin crackdown in South Africa, what you should know. South Africa prohibits the transfer of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptos purchased from South African exchanges to an overseas platform. South Africa bars transfer of locally acquired cryptocurrencies to overseas exchanges. Offenders face jail time. Quite dramatic. Transfer of Bitcoin from Luno to overseas exchanges is a crime. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drill down and actually see what caused these headlines, what caused these articles to start becoming prevalent in the media. If I go over to the Reserve Bank's website, as you can see here, Reserve Bank, and we go down to the frequently asked questions, and these frequently asked questions were published, if my understanding is correct, in June of this year, so basically last month. I'm going to scroll down to point number 15, which says, may I buy crypto assets on a South African crypto asset trading platform with Rand and send the crypto assets to a foreign or offshore based crypto asset exchange? The answer, no. And then it goes on to give some explanation as to why you are contravening Regulation 10(1)(c). So, we're going to discuss the shortcomings of this regulation, in my opinion. We're also going to talk about what is currently being done to resolve this issue. So, one of the shortcomings that I see with this regulation, and one of the things that is of immediate concern to me, is that overnight the regulators have made thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of South Africans criminals. Now, I don't know how that is going to roll out, but I certainly think that in South Africa we have enough problems with criminals to make law-abiding crypto trading individuals criminals overnight. Certainly is an issue which needs to be addressed. In an economy where the South African government is failing to create jobs, we certainly should not be looking at restricting the trade of cryptocurrencies. Now, this bleeds on to a different factor, and that is the factor that currently South Africa, within the industry players and the industry leaders, we hold coffers of billions of rands worth of cryptocurrency. Now, I think it's fair to say that with the Eskom prices, those cryptocurrencies, those tokens and those bitcoins were certainly not mined within our borders. We all know that the current price that we are paying with electricity just makes this task absolutely unviable and simply impossible, which means that the industry players like Altcoin Trader and the other big exchanges in the country have attracted international investment into South Africa worth billions of rands, and that's simply a fact. So we currently are in a position of a net positive as far as the inflow of funds into South Africa. So with this in mind, one of the worst things that the government could do would be to stop the flow of cryptocurrencies, because by nature, if you stop the outflow, you will stop the inflow. And we've already assessed that we have a net positive, so we have more crypto and more funds and more wealth flowing into South Africa by allowing the open economy and the free trade. Now, granted, that is a lot of my opinion, but it is certainly steeped in a lot of fact, just by looking at the billions of rands worth of foreign investment that we have attracted as crypto industry leaders into South Africa. Now, on this channel, we've often spoken about a transfer of wealth within the crypto industry. If we look at Bitcoin specifically over the last 10 years, 8 of those years were involved with retail investors, and we saw a lot of individuals becoming wealthy off crypto. And then the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of institutions coming into cryptocurrencies, and we've seen companies coming into cryptocurrencies. And likewise, we've seen a transfer of wealth for these institutions and companies. And I believe strongly that in the future, we are going to see this transfer of wealth for countries coming from the crypto space. We're going to see countries like El Salvador that have adopted cryptocurrency as legal tender, really boosting their economy. But not only that, they are going to be attracting wealth because they are attracting cryptocurrency into the country. And as we see Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies going to 1 million to 10 million and going north of those prices, we're going to see a country's wealth explode because of the adoption of cryptocurrencies. So it is imperative that each and every country make it a viable proposition for individuals to get cryptocurrency into the country so that we are not left out and we are not in a situation where the country is driven to poverty because they are not embracing this new technology or this new alternative financial system. If we look at the single discretionary allowance of an individual, so as a South African, we know that we are allowed to send 1 million rands worth of value out of the country every calendar year. And if we go and we make application, we can boost that by a further 10 million. So by not allowing people to send cryptocurrency out of the country, you are basically infringing on their right as opposed to the single discretionary allowance. However, with a single discretionary allowance, if you send money out of the country, it counts against your allowance. But then if you bring money back into the country, it credits your single discretionary allowance. So if you send out and you bring back, you're in the same position and you're allowed to send out 1 million. So you would think that if the South African government is going to not allow you to send out cryptocurrency, or if they do allow you to send out cryptocurrency, that would count against your single discretionary allowance. But then, by the same token, if you were to bring back cryptocurrency, this should be credited towards your single discretionary allowance. Currently, to the best of my understanding, this is not the case, which makes absolutely no logical sense and certainly couldn't be legal. If you can send cryptocurrency out and it counts against you, when you bring cryptocurrency back, it should certainly count for you. So I think that the regulators certainly need to look at that aspect of things and not have the bread buttered on both sides. You need to be fair, logical, and legal as far as that goes. Now we're going to talk about decentralized exchanges, Dexes, and staking cryptocurrency. So if we have a look at this article here, we can see it says, the Reserve Bank also said that it regards decentralized exchanges or Dexes as offshore for the purpose of exchange control regulations in South Africa. Now, granted that this is an article written in the media and it is not something that we have found on the Reserve Bank's frequently asked questions or their website, but it may indicate their stance on decentralized exchanges, which I think really needs to be considered in more detail, because if we are trading on a decentralized exchange, the cryptocurrency never leaves your custody. And while that trade takes place, it might be that that cryptocurrency leaves your wallet, your local South African wallet, for a second or a fraction of a second before it returns. Now, the reason someone would do a trade on a decentralized exchange is certainly to make profit. And I don't believe that that should be stopped, because obviously, if you're making profit, it benefits the individual in the way of additional money. It benefits the country in the way of taxable money that comes in. So you make a trade, you make profit, you pay your taxes. It is a win-win for everyone. No funds can leave the country. If you really want to break it down to technical terms, funds probably leave the country for a second or a split second. But that also brings up the question that if that decentralized node that is transacted on that time resides within the borders of South Africa, and we know that there's a lot of Ethereum nodes in South Africa, did that transaction technically take place out of South Africa? But I think those are technicalities and don't really need to be considered because the fact that you retain the custody of your funds, those funds never go out overseas and they are in your wallet at the end of a transaction, which at the worst case scenario is a couple of seconds. It benefits the individual, it benefits the country because of profit and taxes. So I think in an economy where we are battling, where jobs are scarce, that is certainly something that needs to be considered and not ruled out, because it is really stopping individuals from earning a living. Let's talk about staking. Now I'm going to go over here to the frequently asked questions, and if we drill down, I think it's number 17. Yeah, what are the implications of staking my crypto assets? I.e. using my crypto assets to secure crypto asset network through proof of stake validation models for return paid in crypto assets. Okay, so they say there are both tax and exchange control implications of staking crypto assets. Certainly doesn't say that you can't do it. These implications are exacerbated if an individual's crypto assets are staked via an offshore third party. So the wording there is very specific, offshore third party, but if you are staking on the Ethereum network, for example, there is no third party. You retain custody of your Ethereum via a smart contract. So once again, it could be argued, are those cryptocurrencies leaving the country? As you are the sole custodian of those cryptocurrencies, it is probably logical to assume that the wealth is remaining within our borders. And while that certainly has tax implications because you are earning profit, and we all know that it is a good thing to pay tax because by implications of paying tax, you are actually earning money. So that is something that we should encourage, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good life to be paying taxes, to be earning money, and to be securing the Ethereum network. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done with this regulation. I think that there are a lot of unanswered questions. We're going to go into what has been done and what we are trying to do, because it has always been my view that the South African government have had a reasonable outlook to cryptocurrencies. They are trying to ensure that they don't drive the country into further poverty by outlawing the cryptocurrency industry. And sometimes we see a move which is not really 100%, in my opinion, logical, like the restriction of sending cryptocurrencies out of South Africa. Now, by the Reserve Bank putting this onto the frequently asked questions, does that mean it's legislation? Does that mean it's law? Does that mean we can't send cryptocurrencies out of the country? Is there not a due process that needs to be followed before a legislation like this can be made? Well, I guess that is open to interpretation, because certainly it's a Reserve Bank, is a government institution. They have the ability to control exchange controls. So it, by all intents and purposes, means that you can't send cryptocurrency out of the country. And if you were caught doing that, you possibly could land in trouble with the law. Guys, we obviously don't want to break the law. We want to be compliant. But by the same token, we want to make sure that we live in a country that is progressive, forward-thinking, and that we do not take actions that will keep us as a nation in poverty. So, in closing, what has been done to try and rectify the current situation? Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think that I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. The regulators, altcoin trader, the industry leaders, the other big exchanges in the country, we are currently engaging with the regulators. We're trying to get more clarity, and we are trying to find a clear and concise regulation going forward. So we're going to leave it at that. Know what the current situation is. Know that you have industry players, industry leaders like altcoin trader negotiating and talking to the regulators, trying to get clarity. So, can you send cryptocurrency out of the country? Guys, I'm certainly not an attorney or a lawyer. My job or my goal in this video is simply to make the facts clear, to show you what you need to look at before making your decision. From the offset, my opinion is right now, with the current situation, you are not allowed to send cryptocurrency out of the country. However, you've got the information, it's all in front of you. Make sure that you do your own research and make up your own mind. Guys, if you like this type of content, please make sure that you drop a comment below and smash that like button so that we can get this out to as many people as possible. And also, if you smash the like button, it indicates to me that you appreciate this type of content, and I will continue to make content of a similar nature. That's it from me. I'm out.